Bangalore's own celebrity novelist Jeet Thayil is here with his own version as he puts a biblical spin on poetics, while also reading from two of his forthcoming books, I'll Have It Here and The City Under the City, a collaboration with the poet John Kinsella. We welcome Jeet Thayil to the stage, please. Welcome, sir.
I'm going to read from a book that will be out in November with HarperCollins. Rahul Soni, the editor on the book, is somewhere in the audience. I'm going to read poems that use form in a kind of a crazy way. There's a lot of rhyme and a lot of rhythm, and I think you'll hear it as I read. This is called diminishing marginal utility, which is an economic concept that tells you that the first time you do something, it has a lot of value, and then if you do it again very soon, the value drops dramatically and keeps dropping. And this is called diminishing marginal utility. The first cigarette is all you've got. From the second, it's a downhill trot. You might as well not smoke it. So little does it satisfy. You might as well stroke it like a pet, sniff it and say, oh my. This is the law of farm, forest, and city, rapidly diminishing marginal utility. Once learned, never forgotten. Applicable, alas, to everything. Kisses, earthquakes, the nobly rotten, cars, guitars, bliss on the wing. Sunsets on Mars are blue, sometimes purple too. An octopus dreaming changes color, from pale to yellow to camo to black. Its suckers light up, synapses follow. It has a large brain and a knack for the avoidance of pain. I'll never eat octopus again. Utility doesn't always diminish in value. It can start at the bottom of the graph. Never to rise, never to accrue gains or losses. Go ahead and laugh. Thank you. This is called Blut und Ehr, which is blood and honor in German. It's a racist term, very popular with white supremacists. In fact, this is kind of grabbed from the news if you've been reading what's happening in England right now, in Liverpool, and the riots, white supremacist riots. So the speaker of this poem could be one of the rioters. The gods are among us. This one says her poems slant, laughs at her own audaciousness. She's an accountant. She keeps score. At night she wakes me with a snore loud enough to shake the heaven, long enough to raise the dead, which isn't a blessing, not just yet. Terrifyingly beautiful, there's no denying her beauty's annoying. The gods among us are a multitude. We're overrun, multicolored, rude. They're spilling out of Brixton into the halls of freedom, beating their incomprehensible drum. I see them eyeing my daughter. I hear them giggling in tongues, not being humble like they oughta, but skipping the rungs we were honored to climb. Unmask them, brothers. It's time. And just to even it out, this is a poem that attacks the other side of the equation. It's set in the Indian ghetto in New York, the Indian ghetto known as Jackson Heights, and also sometimes called Jaikishan Heights. It's called Lateral Violence Among the Model Minorities. In the interests of equal opportunity, you propose a toast to the Pakis, bombole, and remind the Indians their bangis to the British, whose genius was to use the correct insult for each caste, one word to drive us properly insane. The city a flicker of phosphenes, flat whispers, segregated flat screens, bifurcated by tongue or tribe or God. And you amongst them, little vampire, walking diatribe, starting fires, prideful of your sodomy, leash gripped between your teeth. Properly insane, you stroll turmeric-stained avenues, stale ambition, sibling cruelties agape in the new world, blurt of righteous chemical, 3 stories tall, chewy fog of marigold aerosol aimed at babies in parking lots. Nobody cares for you. You're a cane toad. Predative, adaptive, noisy poison eater, satisfied or competitively middle class when ranged among the paralyzed natives. Exuberantly noxious, yet lovable, the Raja, the Padishah of Roosevelt Avenue. Are there any Beach Boys fans in the audience? 4? Okay, then I'll read this poem. Just for the 4 of you. It's called Pet Sounds, which is probably the kind of pinnacle in the Beach Boys' continuing success upon this planet. It goes like this, Pet Sounds. The Beach Boys made Pet Sounds in 1966. Some critics say it's the greatest album of all time. Better than Kind of Blue, better than Around the World in a Day, or Body and Soul, or There's a Riot Going On, or Electric Ladyland. Taste is destiny. What about albums out the same year? Revolver, or Blonde on Blonde, or Aftermath? What makes Pet Sounds the greatest? A band that loved black music made Revolver. A band that wanted to be black made Aftermath. A Jewish poet made Blonde on Blonde. Pet Sounds is a reminder of a gone time when black or brown or Jewish people weren't seen. You saw us only when you drove windows up through certain neighborhoods. You love Pet Sounds because this is music before blackness entered the world. Here's a poem to fit with Shiny's title for this event, the gospel. So it's slightly biblical. And the rhymes here are beloved of a great Indian poet who's no longer with us, and it's dedicated to him. Friday Night on the Ark for Vijay Nambisan. The wind pours wine, slings chanson to the palms. See the captain there and there, lifting his glass to the woolly mammoths and clubfoot angels. The seas are calm tonight. The moon's on high, but he won't sail until the mammoths blow psalms in reply. Meanwhile, he's stress-testing the cutlass, priming the front desk, tuning the curfew bells. There is no right way to say goodbye. If there were, this would be it. A night like tonight, the moon fully lit, falls calm upon the water, covering the diseased towns, people stunned by famine and obesity, by drought and flood, new spikes within the latest variants of fright. Nothing ages you like the death of a daughter. The earth ages under the close eye of the sun. Nothing prepares you for the spurt of loved blood. Thanks very much. Another poem ripped from the newspapers. More's the pity. This is called Birth Dirge. At dusk, the fields are pitch, unrecognizable. We fall like fruits from the jamun tree. Black fruits burst under their boots. My neighbor's pregnant daughter dropped, the baby still moving gently inside her. The men cut her open, the dancers. They dance sitting. Even in the dark, they shine. One sings while he works. How hard he works, his voice of the golden raptors above. Golden voice flies sitting, her husband now. He buries himself deep beneath the red soil. His red mouth's laugh is a small, happy animal. The dust rises into the fruit of our mouths. We say, our mother, love us. This is a lighter poem, and I know you need one right now. It's called As If a Leap Year Wasn't Enough, in rhyming couplets. Brown light at 8 a.m., saying, look at me, here I am. Here to remind you, son, of those who are gone. Summer too soon. Soon enough the wind will shift and the birds complain re the rain. Complain loud and long, long and loud and oh so wrong. Heat rings a tin whistle round the pig pen. Later, a coma of cows near the house will quit the scene of our sweaty Anthropocene. As I drive to the city that hardly is a city. I'm not alone here, right, Galatea? I never have been. Don't mind me and mine, the world is full. That's the golden rule, or one of them at least. The dead are around us this East-er. Like you, Galatea. Sorry, what? I most certainly am not hot to trot like some respectable Hottentot. I'm my own man, I'll have you know, even if I am talking to myself at a small town airport bar, waiting for a spot to open up, to get into my cups and let you and your friends in teal and blue come round and surround me here where the dead abound. Thank you. This is called 1325, and it's a poem without rhymes exactly or stanzas. It's in these elastic lines, and it encompasses several ideas, but all within one kind of spoken burst of images and words. It's called 1325. I'm sure you can all recall that year. 1325. Shams al-Din, the tangerine, is 21 when he sets off on pilgrimage. A year or two, he imagines, then back home to practice law like his father and his father's father. Introducing himself as Ibn Battuta, he visits 211 towns and cities in 40 countries across 3 continents. It isn't the pilgrimage that interests him now, but the vagaries of the traveling life. To ride into a town and look for somewhere to stay. To hear of a coastal city to the south and find berth on a ship. The ship boarded by pirates, wrecked against the rocks of a giant coast. To be kidnapped, to escape, to fall sick with an ailment that seems to originate in the bones. Slowly, over days and weeks in a dim room, over countless cups of bone broth, he is nursed back to health. On an island in the Maldives, whose inhabitants depend on a diet of aphrodisiacal coconuts and fish, he takes 4 wives, the legal limit, spending the night with the wife whose turn it was, and this I continued to do the whole year and a half I was there, close quotes. In all, he marries 10 times, keeps concubines and lets them go, has 5 or a dozen children, survives a plague, becomes a scholar, a judge, the writer of the Rila, or a masterpiece to those who contemplate the wonders of cities and the marvels of traveling. For 3 decades he travels. He never wants to go home. That year, the Aztecs built Tenochtitlan over marshland, using a system of aqueducts, artificial islands, and drainage. They like to bathe 2 or 3 times a day. In Europe, rather than bathe, they are using perfume. Rather than plumbing, chamber pots and thunderboxes. What they enjoy is a good war. It is the beginning of the Little Ice Age. What are the poets of the world doing? Already adept at time travel, they are futurists one day, nostalgists the next. They are fluent in mathematics. They know they are necessary for the progress of the race. They don't know they'll be flattened by the invention of money. Here's a poem made up of headlines that I really haven't changed very much. It's called Self-Portrait as Found Stock Market Headlines. The market is having trouble focusing on issues that could give it direction. The market is looking for a level to consolidate on its way down. Market feels first shivers and shake-up, claws back. Stocks shrug off weak bonds and bearish futures to close higher in choppy trade. Market tumbles, reverberations expected. Market drops like a brick through impasse at its heart. Prices go into free fall, end up in the subway. Stocks close low in gloomy, sluggish trade as persistent pressure stifles weak attempts at a rebound. Stocks fall off a cliff. Day opens in a vacuum of sentiment. The market is very nervous. It lacks direction. In the afternoon, it nosedived with a vengeance. Just how high can a dead cat bounce? Actual headlines just slightly tweaked. This is called a kind of anthem, and it's dedicated to the leaders of our nation. A kind of anthem. A nation you thought you knew, from Ashoka to Buddha to Gandhi to Nehru, in a single decade unravels into Muslim, Christian, Hindu, unholy trinity of saffron, green, and blue on a field of British white. My girlfriend's Chinese, my baby mama's a Jew, my husband's red, white, and blue. When we're out on the toot in Chikmagalur, Diu, and Kathmandu, there's no jealousy or rue, we try to eat right. We like our new brew. We float past our differences and accrue credit for the next bardo, our karmic due. Either way, it's true. We're dead if we don't, and dead if we do. Got a light? Three minutes? 5 minutes. This is called The Ghost of Mr. Great Soul. And you have to translate Great Soul into Hindi. Right on. The Ghost of Mr. Great Soul. Why, if it isn't Gandhi, returned as a house gecko, talkative, still slender, motionless on the wainscoting. His chirp is plummy British banter. Dear boy, have a deco. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, or so you'll find. Mind, one hopes not. And so on and so forth. All I say to him is, what? I don't mean to be rude, but you left us no food. The carving knife you used like some tiny god still drips blood on the old floorboard. My extended hopeless family sat down for dinner in India and got up in Pakistan. You turned our house into a granary, the army used for bribes to win over the strongest tribes. 75 is 70 years. Give or take 5 years. You expect things to change, but what has? Well, we pray to screens, and they're still at it, your assassins, in the name of love and fame. A people divided by circumcision or not, veils or not, meat or not. You expect things to change the same, Mr. Gecko, Mr. Forget-Me-Not, Mr. Great Soul. You're here and you're not. I'll end with a poem that ends the book, which uses dactylic meter. And the dactyl is a type of meter that begins with a stress and then has 2 unstressed. So the word poetry is an example of a dactyl. Poetry, poetry. So stress, unstress, unstress. And this occurs throughout this poem. And I hope it's 3 minutes. It's called Save Your brise for a better day. A brise is a ballet term. Not like a river, it rolls like a rock, backwards or sideways, and never unlocks. Untamed, it's a crisis, and tamed, it gets worse. Time, they may call it, when we call it hers. Singing of rivers, of talent to spare, they called it Magog's line, you didn't dare. Speak for a country, abandoned it seemed, and never revisited but in a dream. Budapest made you, its alphabet played you, 44 letters that stayed and betrayed you, enthralled to conductors of chaos and need, those desperate maladies scored to concede. Ringing with light from that deep unknown well, your face was the springboard from which we all fell. Later were hard-pressed to know what was done, what had come over us, how were we stunned. You met every pilgrim and broke off a piece. Your mind was a tumult, your exits a tease. All of this happened as happenings do, without a glimmer or sense of what's true. Rushing instead like a child to her doom, you lit up our rooms and vanished too soon. Rooms you set ringing and shining at will, mysterious rooms that are shining still. Out in the wildness we set up our hall, lit by a screen with some seating for all. Sat there unbreathing as images swarmed, dwarfed our imaginings, goaded and charmed. You were a story not ours to decode, your mouth a republic we already owed. Your eyes told of secrets enfolded in time. We were your acolytes, servants divine. Your tears when you cried were like spears in my side, receiving each word from your lips to my mind. How could I tell them their goddess was ours, years in the past when your fame hadn't soured? Peace that I keep and enclose in my chest, peace that eludes on this street and the next. You that I speak of at song's quiet end, here in the doorway, my marvelous friend. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those beautiful verses of poetry.